Awesome. Let's keep it rolling on here. Rose asks, "Where do you find the blinds?" I can take
This
this.
is all you, Mike.
Yeah, I can take this one. As Bradley mentioned, kind of the idea for it, and really the structure of how we deliver the blinds, are all inspired by or pulled from Crazy Days and Nights. So that is NT Lawyer's website. I will say crazydaysandnights.net is where, I mean, it used to kind of just be plug and play. You just kind of pull one off there, read it, and go from there. Since then, there's been controversy. There's been some things. There's been some, here or there, he said,
Yeah.
she said type situations that played out around all of that. So that's definitely not our solo source now. Again, we still
Well,
structure the blinds the same way, but
also, just to interrupt, and I
yeah,
apologize, but also it's just because, and I know we've thought about this since the very beginning. It's there are there are a lot more blinds than you realize.
oh yeah,
It's just that, Crazy Days and Nights kind of is good about listing everything together, but blinds like literally are almost everywhere, and it's just a matter of finding them. It's just a lot harder to go digging for them, uh, in the other sources because there's not, a lot of places that are sort of pumping them out
Yeah.
regularly.
yeah. So that's kind of, again, the structure was kind of based off what you see and how you would see it if it was on Crazy Days and Nights. Some of the inspiration that I get and some of the stories and details, and we've kind of talked about this because we've been discussing a few Reddit threads when we talked about the David Harbour story not too long ago. That was from a Reddit story and things like that. So a lot of Reddit posts right now, like there's
Yeah.
some blind stuff there. Dumois obviously is a big
Mhm.
blind item source where they have a lot of anonymous tips that come in. We're now getting more anonymous tips, which is amazing. And please, by all means, if you've got an anonymous tip, you got a story, you got something, please send it to us. Go to our website and give us some inspiration there. But otherwise, I mean, as Bradley said, sometimes the blind items almost write themselves in some of the stories we get in the world of pop culture
Yeah.
too. So I mean that happens on occasion as well. But I will say when it's something that is not based off of a story, based off of some sort of inside information, a lot of times it's Dumois, Reddit posts, Crazy Days and Nights, things like that. So
We really have had a democratization of blinds.
mhm.
It's not just one source anymore.
Yeah.
And
I
I
mean,
think that'll
there's
continue.
there's like all kinds of gossip websites.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, you get newsletters, Substacks.
Yeah.
Kind of look all over, right?
Yes, exactly. Steven asks, "Hey y'all, I have a question for your upcoming Q&A." That's what we're doing right now. Thanks for joining us for it. My best friend is from Duluth via
Uh-oh.
Finland, Duluth, Minnesota.
Oh,
Finland, Minnesota, yeah.
Yes, which is how I found my way up to you. And it got me wondering, where are your hometowns? Are you all from Minnesota?
None of
No.
us?
Well, one of us.
Are you from Minnesota,
100%.
technically? Why do I think Wisconsin? Because you spent a lot of time
Spent
in
7 years
Wisconsin.
in
That's right.
Wisconsin.
Okay.
I am the lone Minnesotan. And actually, I was born in Nebraska. But
Oh.
my dad was in the Air Force. So I was born in Nebraska, moved to and grew up in a small town, Nicollet, Minnesota, by Mankato. And so lived there my entire life until moving to Wisconsin for radio and then ultimately up to the Twin Cities. So I'm the lone Minnesotan. How about the two of you? Hometowns?
Well, I was born in California, and most of my extended family is out there in Santa Ana, Orange County. And then we moved to Missouri, so that's where I spent most of my time is Springfield, Missouri, Ozark, Missouri, the Branson area. And then I moved to Dallas. Yeah, and then I moved back to Springfield, which is the hometown of Brad Pitt and all the rest of the people I mentioned before. And then I moved to Minnesota like almost 10 years ago in 2016.
Years? Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
I've been working for myTalk ever since then.
That's awesome. I've been in Minnesota now longer than I've been anywhere in my entire life. And if you had asked me when I moved here, would I be here very long? I was like, well, maybe for college and then I'm done.
Yes.
And here I am 30 some years later. What?
Whoa.
I too was born in California, Camp Pendleton. We had military family, and then but my family's all from Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin. So the Midwest is very familiar to me. I grew up outside of or areas in southern Wisconsin, and then outside Chicago until I was in middle school, and then we made a big jump to Houston, Texas,
Wow.
and that was a life altering experience. And then came here for college. Everybody thought I was stupid. Like, why would you go from Texas all the way up to cold ass Minnesota? But I did, and I'm really glad I did. But yeah.
We're glad you did too.
Me too.
Yeah.
And then Steve went on to say, "Love your show. I'm glad I found just Steve-O in Nashville. Thank you so much, Steve-O in Nashville."
Thanks, Steve-O. Oh, I wanted to say about Finland. I
Mhm.
love Finland. I used to drive through Finland on occasion because we would go camping up way up in the Superior National Forest,
nice.
and that was always one of the towns we would go through. And it's such a beautiful part of the state.
Oh yeah.
Very cool. We kind of answered this question. I think Marcia was asking, how did the two of you meet and what are your backgrounds? I think you just kind of hit a lot on your backgrounds and you just met doing the show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dawn and I met on the station before we did
Yeah.
the show. Obviously, we've known each other for
Yeah.
as long as you've been here.
Yeah. 10 years.
Princess K has a question. What is our top movie? What would be our dream vacation? And who would be someone from the past and present you would like, or present you would like to meet, and someone that you would from now that you would like to meet? So let's begin with the first one. We'll go each one of us. Favorite movie, Dawn.
Wizard of Oz.
Bradley.
That is such a hard question that I did not, for whatever reason, I was not prepared for that question. Mike, what's yours?
The Departed.
The Departed.
Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio and pretty much anything. And that pairing plus everyone else, The Departed is just a great movie.
I have so many favorite movies. It's like your children. How do you pick your favorite child? Like I used to fall asleep every night to Auntie Mame, Rosalind Russell. Like I'm an old Hollywood person.
Yes.
I used to fall asleep to that movie every single night. But then I also went through a period of my life where I fell asleep to Lord of the Rings and Kate Blanchett's dulcet tones every night of my life. Like I can't pick one.
Okay.
Sorry, but if I had to, if you put a gun to my head, I would maybe. No, I can't.
Well, you've got an old one and then a more
You
modern
got some new
one.
and
So,
old.
Yeah.
Okay. Dream vacation, Dawn.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This is like, I'm a Libra, so like my brain's exploding right now of all the choices. But I would say, okay, I really would like to go to like the Holy Land, Jerusalem, and just do the whole like
history.
All the places around that area.
Yeah, that's like
All the
top of your
tours.
list right now, you think?
Yeah, I would say so.
Bradley, yours?
Mine, like, again, how do you pick? Because there's so many places I want to go on the earth. But right now, where would I pick, Dawn?
I know this is impossible.
It's so hard
You're
because we
obsessed with
just talked
travel.
about the UK, and I'm like, I want to go to the UK really bad. Do you know? I have this obsession with going to the UK. I want to do a cruise, no surprise, of the UK, and I want to go up the coast, and I want to go to like Scotland and the Orkneys, and I want to go see like those Neolithic prehistoric sites, like the Neolithic burials that they did up in the Shetlands and the Orkneys and all that. I don't know why that's like just always been a fascination of mine, like Stonehenge and things like that too. But I would let's just say the UK for now. I could, change my mind in 30 seconds.
McClain Castle on the Isle of Mull also. My name is McClain, so.
Sure. What about you, Mike?
Right now, it would be actually Dawn's last vacation. I want to do like Italy and the Colosseum and all that stuff. Like I've never been to Europe at all, and would love to do that. So
You have to go.
Yeah.
Dawn and I weirdly were both in Rome this year.
Yeah.
We did not plan it this way.
And
at least I don't think you did.
Mine was sort of like I didn't really plan super far in advance for the trip I took, but yeah.
But I can't recommend it highly enough. There's something so magical about walking through spaces. Speaking of, that just made me think of going to Turkey because they have that wonderful Paleolithic site. What is it called? Or Neolithic site? Göbekli Tepe.
Yes.
It is this amazing, like the level of civilization required to build this space would require that we had like an agricultural society. We weren't at that phase of development yet as humans. And so basically a bunch of hunter-gatherers got together and acted like they could do stuff, which is highly unusual and just kind of crazy. And I want to see what that's like. Sorry.
Oh no, that's real nerdy. I love it.
Real nerdy, girl.
Yeah.
All right, celebrity past or present you would like to sit down and meet and chat with. Dawn?
Ooh, probably Jesus doesn't count.
Well, he's on your shirt, so
Yeah.
sure, go for it.
Jesus.
Well, they always ask that. I'm like, I don't know. I want to be around when all that stuff happened.
Well,
And go,
sure. Yeah.
let's see, because then I could write
How
my
about
own
a
Bible
celebrity?
from my point of view.
My own Bible.
Come back and be like,
Okay.
guys, this is what really
He's
happened.
trying to start a religion
No,
over
no,
here.
no,
Book of John.
No, but
Book of John.
no, I really, Judy Garland, I would really love to sit down with her and spend a night. You know, day probably would be better, you know.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Yeah, you stole mine, so thanks.
Oh, no, really?
No, you didn't steal it, but she would definitely be at the top of my list. It's funny because my partner and I were just playing this game this last weekend, like the musical acts that are no longer with us that you'd love to see, and she was definitely at the top of my list. Like, how could you not want to talk to Judy Garland? But if it wasn't Judy Garland, I mean, it would probably be somebody. It'd probably be Lucille Ball, if I'm being quite honest, because another person I just was obsessed with growing up. And she was just such an amazingly talented woman, but also she was an amazingly talented woman at a very difficult time for women to be successful. And so I think that required just a certain amount of just unique personality traits that she had. So that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
What about you?
If I was doing, you brought up a fun one when you said about musical guests. I would love to be like old-timey Vegas and do like a Rat Pack show back in the day. I think that would be sick. I think
that would be really
amazing,
awesome.
just chilling doing that. If it was somebody more modern that you actually sit down and just pick their brain, have a conversation with, I think Bryan Cranston. I love Bryan Cranston so much, and I think it'd be really fun to. He's just done so many different things and embodied so many different roles, and has had a lot of really cool experiences. And I think it'd be fun to chat with him about those.
Yeah.
What about like
favorite actor?
the Emperor Constantine or something weird like that? What about like?
I like that you're going back into history.
Yeah, thank you.
How about the first
Augustus?
caveman? The first person to talk. I would like to talk to the one guy, or it was probably a woman, let's be clear, because she would have something, coherent to say. That would be good. Or what about the first amoeba?
There you go.
John.
Sorry. Oh my
The first
God.
multicellular organism. I'd like to sit down with them.
Oh no, boring.
This is a fun one. What would be your go-to cheat meal?
Oh, that is a good one.
Cheat meal. What you got?
Again, you're making me pick all of my favorite children.
Yeah.
Dawn, I guarantee you have a go-to cheat meal.
I mean, I love like just my grandpa, his pasta sauce. Like that's my favorite meal. It's pasta, our family recipe. Is that boring?
No. So pasta.
Yeah. I love pasta.
What about you, Mike?
We like to make if you're on like a consistent cheat meal that you normally make, we always do these big, just like pan of nachos covered in pork.
Oh my God.
And then you cover it in cheese.
Pulled pork?
Pulled pork nachos.
What kind of
covered
cheese?
in cheese. It's up to you.
That crumbly.
Kind of mix it up, but like crumbly, usually
cheese.
white cheddar is what we usually use.
Oh, okay.
White cheddar. You just melt it all on there. Then you add cilantro and you add your onions, whatever toppings you want, and then you actually hit it with barbecue sauce. And it gives it almost like
right now.
It gives it almost like a North Carolina like barbecue pork nacho, but it's so good.
Pork nacho.
And then you also hit it with your guac and your salsa as well, and some sour cream. That's my go-to cheat meal. That, and if there was one little thing that I have that I only have very, very rarely, it is a Little Debbie fudge round.
Yeah.
I love fudge rounds.
Like
they're like the cheat meal. If I knew it wouldn't cost any calories, that'd be the thing I'd pick.
Little Debbie is like at the top of my cheat meal list. I don't have those very much anymore, but they used to be like, as a child, Little Debbie was essentially my best friend. I was an only child and a latchkey kid, and so every day the woman I spent the most time with when I got home from school was Little Debbie. She was 99 cents a box.
There's
her Swiss rolls.
I found on Temu that says Big Deborah.
Big Deborah.
And it's her grown up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I am essentially Big Deborah because I have been raised on Little Debbie. But but that wouldn't be my cheat meal, because to me, a cheat meal is like, okay, I don't care about the calories, but I really want something yummy. And it's usually when Jamie goes out of town. That's my partner, because I do all the cooking, but I don't like when it's just me. I'm like, I'm not going to all this trouble.
Yeah.
So I like to call up. We have this Korean fried chicken place called Abangyoli in the Twin Cities. It is the best fried chicken.
Your secret meal.
And that's what I will get, along with a bunch of sides. They have a bunch of sides, but mostly it's that. Fried chicken in general is a cheat meal for me. Like, we have a grocery store, Cub, that makes real good fried chicken. It's chicken. I know where all the good chicken is, kids. So fried chicken definitely is at the top of my cheat meal list.
We are just about done here. We got a few more to go before we wrap things up, but we'll go to this one here. I've got a question for you. This one's from Diana. She comes from the world of broadcast television radio, is what it says. I have my favorite celebrity interviews that I've done, and I'm curious, what are your favorite interviews and why? Also, what are your least favorite interviews and why? I think, Bradley, you kind of alluded to
I already gave you Vicki Lawrence.
Yeah.
Don, what was the worst interview you ever did?
Okay, I got to look him up, but he was a winner of American Idol. And he was the rudest guy I've ever met in my life. And I want to, it's kind of like, yeah, let me look it up. But best, I would say, Napoleon Dynamite, the guy who played Pedro.
Oh, sure.
Efren Ramirez.
Okay.
He is the nicest guy ever. Like, he came to an event for us, and he, like, there was a meet and greet with him and kids, and he was only supposed to be out there for 15 minutes. He spent 2 hours with these kids, like, riding tricycles, and, like, he was the nicest person. Then he went out at night with us. Then he, like, was, like, so sweet. He was on the air. I mean, he went above and beyond, and just the most genuine, nice person.
That is really awesome.
Yeah.
That's always fun when you meet people that you like, and then they're actually really cool people.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
I think for me, and then make sure you get back to us with your least favorite. But while we're waiting, the best interview I ever had, and I've been so fortunate, because between the podcast that I did and then being able to write for a magazine, there were a lot of people coming in that, I'd have to sit down and talk to, and people that I would never, ever get the chance to talk to. The best interview I ever had was probably with Valerie Harper. You hopefully know Valerie Harper. Some of you kids maybe don't know. Well, you would know her from Rhoda, from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And then she went on to do the Harper, wasn't it called the Harper Family? What was her?
The Hogan Family?
Hogan Family.
Hello,
yeah.
Hogan Family.
Yeah. So Valerie Harper, like, truly one of the most, and again, you interview celebrities enough and you're like, they're nice and they're polite or whatever. She was a genuinely kind person, and, was as engaged in the conversation with me as I was with her. And whenever you have a conversation like that and you feel like you really connected with someone, it's very, very special. And, I was always grateful for that interview. She, her and her husband both, I can't remember what she was promoting at the time that I talked to her, but I think her husband was her, PR person at that point. So I interacted a little bit with him, and they were just like the sweetest couple. And again, it's always such a treat to find out that, these people that you've watched on screen for years, end up being genuinely just good people. And so, it's really sad that she's no longer with us, but she was an amazing human. So that was probably one of the most special interviews I did.
Best for me, it's really random. NASCAR driver Kenny Wallace had to come by and use our studios one time to do an interview, and he did. And then, as just random middle of nowhere Wisconsin sports reporter, he sat down and had like a 30-minute interview with me, answered all my questions. It was very nice. We then went out to the bars afterwards and had a good time, and he bought everything. It was a fun.
That's really cool.
That was a wild day. So that, and then you mentioned before, Bradley, Never Meet Your Heroes. One of my favorite football players growing up was Chris Hovan.
Who's that?
He was a former defensive tackle for the Minnesota Vikings. He spent some time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Long story short, I got to meet him, and
not so much.
Yeah, kind of a jerk. So there you go.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. Dawn, did you come up with the name?
I did. His name is Lee DeWise.
Okay.
This is from 2010.
He's Wisconsin, I think. Isn't he the wife from Wisconsin? Look him up. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, let me click on his name here. So he came in the studio because there was a theater in Branson who was bringing in the like all the a bunch of American Idol contestants and doing like, you know, performances all summer. He was the rudest person I've ever met in my life. On the our live radio show, he would just say, "That's dumb. I don't care about that question." And then towards the end of it, all he did was just, we're live. He just started looking through his phone and reading a magazine and just talking to his friend. He just stopped answering questions.
Wow.
Now, on the contrast, I think he might have been a little jealous because I had a huge crush on Elliot Yamin, who was from the same season.
Okay.
He had the best voice. I just loved him. That guy, like my coworkers got him in the studio as a surprise, and he serenaded me. He gave me tickets to the I had tickets to the concert, but then he like literally in the audience to me, had me front and center, came down in front of the whole audience and sang to me. I mean, he ate with me. I mean, just nicest guy in the world. Elliot Yamin. Lee DeWise.
Not so much.
He's really, I hope he did some internal work because I don't know if we really talk about him anymore.
That was one of the only seasons I've watched, and I'm 100%. When you said that name, I was not shocked. He kind of gave that on the show.
Really, like you need to be nice to people because there are people like me out there who have radio shows later and they'll tell the world.
Mm-hmm. Or right now. Lee, if you're watching, if you're a fan of Blind
Yeah,
by
you better
we're not a fan of
apologize.
you. We got one question left, it looks like, and this is just kind of an overall follow-up. How do you know, I should say, this is from LNS over at yahoo.com. Do you know how many blind items you reported on that you guessed correctly? And have you ever considered compiling the original blind, following up with the confirmation of your guess?
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that's for you, Mike.
That is
Do you
for
have
me, yeah.
any sense?
Oh, I don't really have a sense. I would just say, I mean, it's fun. We do a good job of taking victory laps when we get things right. So, you know about it when we get it right. But a lot of times when you start seeing the same thing over and over again, I mean, just recently, for some reason, like with Jeremy Renner, like that was a name that was so random that just kept coming up again and again and again. And it's like, this is too random of a celebrity to just have all this smoke around it. Well, come to find out, there was a massive lawsuit, or ended up being settled or whatever. He claims, she claims, whatever the case may be. So a lot of times you have stories like that, but that's kind of the fun part.
I will say too, like this just makes, I think of this going way back. Now, this is before the YouTube channel, but like you have to remember that blinds really called out a lot of the behavior by people that ultimately were held accountable for their bad behavior. And by that, I mean, the blinds were calling out. And I think that's why maybe we initially got interested in blinds, because they did start gaining attention when they were actually correct about people like Harvey Weinstein, Matt Lauer, Kevin Spacey. I mean, a lot of the people that Bill Cosby, a lot of the people that were affected or called out, or whatever the word we want to use, highlighted and then held accountable during the Me Too movement.
Right.
Truly, that behavior was being called out in the blinds for years before. So I think that's what kind of enamors us in some part to the blinds, is that a lot of times, there's a lot that's made up and there's a lot that's not true. Totally. And we can kind of smell it out sometimes. But if you see a pattern of blinds, it is a good idea to pay attention.
Yeah.
Keith Urban, Nicole Kidman. We were getting that one for months and months and months up to it. So,
all right. I never knew that Riley Keough could be the mother of John Travolta.
Have we seen anything in the blinds about that, though?
We have not.
Okay.
I have not seen anything about that. That was the most random Mad Lib story and lawsuit I've ever seen in my entire life.
Riley Keough, the egg donor for John Travolta and Kelly Preston's son.
My favorite part about it is Michael Lockwood eating dog food. Yeah, because that's in the report as well. Like,
food shells.
Yeah, he was basically to the point where he claims he had to eat dog food, which is why he was trying to exploit this story to get money for him and his daughters. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Christmas.
Oh my God, we answered a lot of questions.
Yeah.
We did this for like 52 minutes. I don't know how much you're going to see on the.
We might just cut it in two. I don't know.
Might need to be holy.
This might be the second.
Okay, well, we got through it. There was a mountain of questions, but we got through them all. Blinders, you are amazing. Thank you so much for helping us get over 7,000 subscribers, pushing towards 10,000. Because again, I need to know what it's like to have hair. So let's get to 10,000
Oh yeah,
subscribers.
10,000 for Mike to get hair.
So I can
We're
rock
sending
some
him to
wigs.
Turkey to get a hair transplant. No, we'll put a wig on him.
That's a little better. All right, thanks for joining us, and very, very happy holidays. Thank you so much, Blinders, for liking and subscribing.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy holidays.